Ever since my daughter was in middle school, she gave me the nickname Podge. And ever since then, that's what my daughter calls me. That's what all of her friends call me. We were always super close, and I was really worried when she was going off to college that maybe we'd grow apart a little bit more. So I just sort of racked my brain. What could I do to try to stay as connected to her as possible? So I came up with the idea that every Sunday, I would record a 5-minute episode about the kind of topics we might normally talk about, send it to her Monday morning, and then she could watch it on her way to campus. I thought it'd be a good idea to resurrect that. They'll be the kinds of topics that I would talk to my now 25-year-old daughter, or the younger version of myself, or people that I mentor, or maybe you. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Coffee with Podge. Today I'm going to talk about motivation and confidence. I want to talk about it in a different way than I think people expect. People often think of motivation and confidence as the building blocks to being able to accomplish certain things, to really pursue aggressive, significant goals. And unfortunately, I couldn't disagree more. I think they're a terrible precursor to success. People actually have it backwards. Motivation and confidence as a starting point is almost guaranteed to fail, because motivation fades when confronted with any form of adversity, and any goal worthwhile is going to have adversity. And I think Mike Tyson famously said, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face. When you get punched in the face and whatever thing you're undertaking, and it's just motivation driving you, your confidence and your motivation is going to shrink. But what won't is discipline. We'll come back to that in a minute. If you listen to any great athlete, any successful business person, a Michael Phelps, a Kobe Bryant, or an influencer like a David Goggins. I remember hearing this one clip with Goggins where he was basically, and this again looks like, from the outside looking in, looks like one of the most motivated, self-confident human beings on the face of the planet. He's rightfully nicknamed himself, the baddest, motherfucker on the planet. And he talks about how, there's days where it's 5 a.m. and he's staring at his running shoes for 45 minutes before he puts them on, because he so doesn't want to do that 20-mile run that he's got planned or whatever it might be. And that's the most motivated guy on the planet, So we're going to all be less than that. So instead, I think people need to understand that it's flipped. It's discipline and systems and processes that build confidence and that build motivation. Small wins stacked up are the things that are going to get you confident. So let's take an example. You want to write I'm working on a leadership book right now. I want to write a 200 to 250 page book on leadership. If never written a book before in my life, I don't think I've ever written anything longer than 25 pages. So I'm basically going to try to write something 10 times the length. Well, how am I going to have confidence and motivation about doing that? Well, I'm not thinking about, the 250 pages. What I'm thinking about is, hey, I need a process and a system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend an hour a day, every day, from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. writing as much as I can write. Now, 15 days in, you look back and you're like, I got 30 pages. Maybe some of it's trash, but some of it's good. And now all of a sudden, because I've had those incremental wins, now I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So you've got to think that way. You've got to think about stacking up those small incremental wins. I know Jordan Peterson, talks about people that are in a really dark place that don't got really anything going for them. You know what that person can do? They can make their bed, right? And then you take that, oh, you know what? Hey, that wasn't so bad. Maybe now I can clean my room. Start small. And, I think one of the big mistakes people make is when they create, goals for themselves. And again, there's nothing wrong with having goals. There's nothing wrong with having big goals. But if that's all you have and think that motivation and self-confidence is going to get you there, I think you're going to be sorely mistaken. What people don't understand is the actual feedback loop that works well. Effort gives you progress. Progress gives you motivation and confidence. The thing I would say too is people need to understand that any undertaking is going to start, any significant undertaking is going to start with fear and self-doubt. If you don't start any undertaking, again, let's use my book example for me. If I didn't have fear and self-doubt about writing that book, I can already tell you, I'm not going to succeed, right? I haven't framed it properly, because that's what's going to give me that tension. that's going to force me to have the discipline because I don't want to fail, because I do have self doubt. And so, what do I have to do? I've got to put a plan in place. I've got to put systems and processes in place to allow me to make small incremental improvements, stack those up, and then that builds my confidence and that builds my motivation. And we've all had the experience, whether it's you're learning to play an instrument. Think back to when you're in middle school, learning to play the trumpet or the clarinet or the piano, or learning to play a sport, soccer, baseball, football, whatever it might be, for the first time, and and you're not very good. Most people don't start out very good at whatever they do, but it doesn't take that long. Imagine playing soccer. First, you can't kick with both feet. Then all of a sudden, you can kick with both feet. Then you can juggle a few times, and you can juggle a whole bunch of times. As you practice, as you get better, and now that person who's been playing soccer for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, now all of a sudden they're pretty confident. Now they're motivated to go to practice because they're good, and that's what's going. So it's funny, people have it completely backwards. The other thing I think is so exciting about understanding that the feedback loop, the way people think about it, is flipped, is motivation and confidence are states of being that either exist or they don't. You either are motivated or you're not. You either are confident or you're not. Now, you might, listen to a song or something that's going to get you, psyched up, and raise your dopamine levels for a minute, and you're going to feel a little bit more motivated. That's temporary. The beauty about discipline is a choice. And that's something every single person can do. So would you rather have the driver be motivation and confidence, a state of being that might or might not be there, and that's not very sustainable, or discipline, something you can choose? So in closing, what I'd like to say is, remember, discipline, systems, processes, those are all choices. Those are things every single person can do. So have that really exciting goal, because I think it is important to have big goals that get you excited, but then break them down. Put some systems and processes to support those, and then understand that the critical, linchpin to that goal getting accomplished is your ability to choose to be disciplined about it. And if you choose to be disciplined about it, super high probability you're going to be successful. And if you can't be disciplined about it, guaranteed bad outcome. Anyway, hope you found it helpful. See you next week. Coffee with Podge.